So I have both seats folded down, and I took off this first panel. I have a custom sound system, so I have to remove this first. This side simply pops off. It's held on by 1 and 2 retaining clips. One of mine is missing. They just clip into here and here. This screw here is a T30. Just simply loosen it, and then you just slide it out. And then this black push pin right here, and underneath this plastic cover, just pry it off, and then that's going to be a T40. And then you just pull it up. And towards the front here, you're going to have a 12mm. And under here, this cover, simply pull that out. You're going to have 2 13mm bolts. And the next step is to remove this pillar here. Pull this part of the trim out. Now you're going to have some clips here and here. You want to pull these away from that, so grab it right about there and out and out. And scoot that piece off to the side, and you're going to have another metal clip right here. And again, just lift up. There we go. And it's out. And then you have this little pocket section right here, which you can just simply remove with one of these, get it in a corner, and pop out. And there you go. And that'll give you just enough room to move this out to reach the nut over there. This is a video from when I did my front suspension, but the principle applies the same. You want to measure the height when the vehicle is sitting idle and stationary, and measure from the center of the axle to the top of the fender. Again, this is from my front axle, so it's not going to apply exactly the same. Do this for the rear axle also. So I've got my rear axle up in the air, supported on. Take off your wheels and store them underneath your car. You can see this is my rear right. My boot cover for my air strut is destroyed. And same for my rear left. Boot cover is destroyed, and I am leaking oil through here. You can see this area here is covered in oil. That's from this leaking strut, so that's bad. Next step is to remove the inner fender liner. In order to do that, we have to remove this rear piece. We're going to need to remove these plastic rivets and these plastic nuts, which are 10mm. Next, we have to disconnect the electrical connector for the air strut, so we have to follow this line right through here, down through there, up through that way, down through this way, and up to here. Make sure to clean off all this dust, debris, spider webs before you unplug the connector to avoid contamination. And for these connectors, this little cover, just slide that tab over and up. This little latch, slide it over to the right and up. Suspension is the second one from the top. There's this little silver locking cable or wire. You want to move that open. It's going to be this piece right here. To pull the connectors out, simply straight out. And then notice they are latched together right here. So I'll plug the top one back in so I don't get confused. And just feed the cable back through. Next step is to remove this plastic cover into the lower control arm. Underneath there are these little plastic tabs that just hold it in place. Grab a flathead screwdriver and you're going to pop that out. There's one more on this side. Right there. And off it goes. And then it gets caught up on this area, so just move that down. So now the plastic cover is off from that area. And you can see on the front, it's just got these two little prongs right there. You just open that up and pull it down. So you want to jack up the axle a couple inches before, 2 inches or so before you go and remove the top nut. This is going to relieve the pressure on that top nut and make it much easier to remove. Otherwise, if you don't jack up the rear axle, this axle has a downward force because of the air spring. So if you don't have this jacked up, as soon as you remove that top nut, this axle is just going to slam down. So you want to have this jacked up slightly. So now on your control module, you need to go into your chassis and we need to remove all the air pressure from the rear air struts. Go to active tests, release pressure in rear axle. Keep releasing pressure until your bar here drops down to the minimum value. So I've released all the pressure I can. It doesn't go below 3.29 bar. I'm also releasing the pressure in the central reservoir. Keep dropping until it reaches about 3 bar. So that's the lowest value that I'm able to reach, about 3.43. Okay, so you're going to need a 5mm Allen bit, and you're going to need this special tool here to hold that special nut at the top of the strut right there. And I have this angled up. I don't have it fully removed on that end, but it is enough room for me to move it out of the way and reach that area. And here is how this special tool would go into there. You kind of need to do the two sides first and then the rear. So you need to come in at an angle like that. And that prevents it and holds it in place. So I sprayed that whole nut assembly there with some lubricant, and you have to use this special holding tool to hold the nut in place while you turn the 5mm hex on top clockwise in a tightening direction to loosen the nut off. So after you remove the top nut here, you want to inspect it. Make sure that the rubber bumper is still in good condition, still squishy, and the top nut here also still in good condition. Check those threads. You can even try spinning it onto your existing or to your new replacement strut just to make sure the threads are in good shape. This is the top part. So here I have the metal washer, no rubber, and you can see it threads on the new replacement strut just fine. So we're good there. And you're going to need a 16mm socket and wrench for the bottom bolt and nut that holds the strut towards the lower control arm. I did already spray them both down with penetrating oil, so make sure to do that ahead of time. The nut goes on the forward side of the vehicle. You can see just how bad this shock is. There is absolutely no rebound to it. It just sinks down all the way, and it does not come up. I have to pull it up. And I can hear the air sucking in. And here's the new one. I have it upside down and press it down, compress it, and then it rebounds all on its own. So from the old shock to the new shock, you have to transfer this rotary boot. And the self-locking nut that goes on the bolt is only a one-time use, so you do have to order a new one. And get your strut installed on the top. You can start the top one on the inside loosely. Make sure it's lined up here. So I can see the top of my strut poking through. So go ahead and tighten this down by hand.
Do not fully torque down yet, only torque by hand. It will be torqued down when the wheels are on the ground and pressure is applied. to the strut.
Next is to hook up the electrical cable and follow it along with the other cables and plugging it back into the bottom connection here. Okay, so I have my new connector cable routed through. Don't forget to put your clip back on for your electrical connectors down here. Perfect. And I jacked up my lower control arm so that it lines up with my bottom of my strut. And I have my bolt coming in from the rear towards the front and the nut on the other side right there. So I have this measuring stick and I measured this before jacking it up, and I want it to be at about 15 inches from the center of the hub to the top of this fender, which I am right now. So now this is the good height to torque down my lower connecting bolt. Now, 50 meters, and that is 90 degrees. 50 meters and 90 degrees. And I put a Sharpie mark right there to indicate that it has been torqued to 50 Newton meters plus the 90 degrees. And then the strut needs to be torqued down to 20 Newton meters, which is about 14 foot-pounds. And you actually need to go in the loosening direction.